This may sound a little messed up, but I've truly just decided to stop forgiving people. I don't forgive people anymore. I used to be a very forgivable person. I let shit slide, people did me dirty, and you know, I looked past it because I gave them the benefit of the doubt. I wanted to see the good in people. I forgave them, I moved on. I gave them a new chance. And one thing I've realized when I've forgiven people throughout the years is no one is capable of change. People don't change. People remain exactly who they are throughout it all. Okay? So apologies don't really mean anything. If you're gonna forgive someone, don't do it based off of an apology, in my opinion. You need to have them prove to you that they deserve an apology, that they deserve to be forgiven. And they should prove it over months through their behavior, through the things they say, through the things they do, through how they treat you, and so on and so forth. You shouldn't just forgive someone just because they said a few words, in my opinion. And I'll give you an example of where this kind of mentality comes from. So this Christmas was probably the worst Christmas I've ever had, because I spent it inside, locked in my room and just working. Didn't spend it with family. And I'll tell you why. So, me and my older sister, we have an extremely strained relationship. We pretty much hate each other. Like we cannot stand each other. Ever since we were little, we've always fought, we've always just completely hated each other. Like it's not this innocent sibling fighting, it's literal genuine hate. We cannot stand each other. And throughout the years, she has been extremely awful, sending me vile messages, wishing death upon me, telling me horrible things. And it's led to me just blocking her everywhere. I don't have her on WhatsApp. I've blocked her number. I've blocked her on Facebook. Everywhere imaginable, I've blocked her. Probably not her email. I don't even know if that's possible to block someone's email. But she's blocked everywhere because she sent me vile messages. She's never had my back. She's always been just an awful human being throughout my entire childhood. She kind of froze me out of my family, talked shit about me to my little sister, to my mother, turned everyone against me. She never had my side on anything. And yeah, she just had genuine hate for me from the very beginning. And this built up hate from my side as well, where I started hating her, where I started looking at her like someone I don't want to deal with. And this carried on to our, 20s. And it came to a point where I just decided, well, it would mean a lot to my mom if we forgave each other, if we became on good terms again and we started hanging out for the sake of the family. And I agreed with my mom. I think being united with your family, being one and not being divided, is the best thing you can do. That's going to keep you strong and it's going to keep your family healthy and your mother's going to be happy as a result. So, throughout my entire 20s, and I'm 28 right now, I've tried to kind of piece together our relationship. I've tried to forgive her and I've tried to get close to her. Um, but every time she does something new that makes me hate her and not being able to stand her. And I'm not the only one who feels this way. My little sister hates her too. She also cannot stand her because she's an awful human being, right? I'm not saying I'm perfect, but the way she's been throughout my childhood and her childhood has been insane, you know? So I've forgiven her multiple, multiple, multiple times throughout the years, throughout my 20s, right? And I've done it for one sole reason, for my mother, because it would mean a lot to her for us to be united and be together and be a family. And I agree, it would. But in some cases, it's impossible. When two personalities clash and it's like Mentos and cola being combined, it cannot work. It's just going to be carnage. It's just going to be a chemical reaction. It just doesn't work, So in some cases, it's impossible, like this case. And throughout the years, I've tried, I've given it a new chance. She keeps doing some new shit, sending me vile messages, fighting in front of my family and saying stupid shit. And it came to a point earlier this year, summer this year, where she did it again. And I'm not going to go into the details of what happened, but she went there again. She did it again. We were all, united over a barbecue during the summer, and she pulled the same fucking bullshit that she has pulled her entire life and my entire life. So from that point on, I just decided that I'm never gonna forgive her again. Never. Like, it's just not gonna happen unless she shows me that she has earned it. Not by saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I don't care about that anymore. You know? I don't want an apology. I want her to show that she has changed. That's all I give a fuck about. If my sister can prove to me that she's a changed person, that she's a better person, that she has her emotions in check and she doesn't let words just come out of her mouth and call people insanely vile things, then I can consider giving her a chance. But until then, she's dead to me. And going back to why this Christmas was awful for me is because my mother invited her. Right now, I'm at my mother's house because I decided to spend Christmas in Sweden. I usually normally live in the Philippines, but I came to Sweden just to celebrate Christmas here. But it was the worst one ever because she invited my sister. And before she did it, I told her, if you invite her, I will not come out, I will not engage, I will be in my room and I will be working all day. I don't want to see her. I don't want anything to do with her. So I'm giving you warning. But I think my mother thought that I was bluffing. So she brought her here anyways, thinking that I would come out and be social, say hi to her husband, and just, be among the family. I didn't. Without any shame. I even went out of my room and grabbed some food and, went into my room again in front of everyone. And I didn't care. I had no shame because I told my mother before that this is what was going to happen. So you better not bring her here. You better go to her place and only celebrate, Christmas with me and you, at our place, or her place. It's not my place. Um, but yeah, I guess she thought I was bluffing, so she brought her over, and I was like, no, I'm not doing it. Because I understand, again, back to my point, back to my original point, is people don't change. So I will not forgive people. I do not want to forgive people because they don't change. People are not worthy of being forgiven unless they can show you that they have changed. That doesn't come from a few words. That doesn't come from an apology. That comes from consistent action showing you that they have changed. And most people are not capable of changing themselves. So they're not worthy of being forgiven. So she has taught me that. That is the person, my sister has taught me that people are not worthy of being forgiven and that you should not forgive. So I don't forgive. I don't forgive anyone because people do not change. People are always going to remain the same. So I know for a lot of you watching this, you may think I'm childish for having this behavior, but you have no idea. Like if I went into the details of our childhood and everything she said, like I don't have the best memory, but even if I went into detail, this video would be too long. But there are insane things she has done. Insane things throughout our entire childhood. The way she has treated me, the way she's been as a sister. Like anyone would grow the amount of hate that I have for that person. Anyone would do it. But also, despite all of the shit that happened throughout our childhood, I've tried to forgive her. As I said, I've tried. I've given her new chances. I've welcomed her into the home and hung out with her and all that. But she keeps pulling new shit. She either does it to your face where she says something, that is not fitting and that is insulting and that makes you want to hate her more, or she sends you a message, when she's home, calling you names, calling you insane things. It never ends. Every time you give her a chance, there's always something new that happens. And it came to a point where, I was 27 years old when the last thing happened, with the last time I saw her, and I just decided, this person is not going to change, and there's no reason to forgive her. You know, It's not impossible for me to forgive her again, but it's going to take way more than me just wanting to do it for my mother without her having to say sorry, and not only say sorry, but also prove to me that she's worthy of being forgiven. Call that petty, call that whatever you want. I just call it looking after my peace. I don't want to have poisonous people in my life. I don't want that. If someone is bad for my life and just pisses me off and stresses me out, I don't want them near me. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's my fucking blood. I don't care. Take them out of my life. I don't want them in my life. It's completely useless. Unless they've changed and they can show that they've changed, then let's leave it at that. But again, people don't change. People do not change. There's a lot of people I've forgiven, and I'm not going to go into details of that. That's probably a separate video. There's a lot of people that I've forgiven that till this day are the exact same people. They're the exact same. They haven't changed. They're not different people. Well, that's my point. Like, people are not worthy of being forgiven because they don't change. So yeah, that was my Christmas. Spent it all alone in my room. And again, call that petty, call that childish. I don't give a fuck. I know what's right for me and I did what was right. And honestly, I didn't have the worst time. It was the worst Christmas, but I got to work. So I guess it wasn't that bad. But yeah, that was it. That was my Christmas. That was my little celebration. Not the best, but it happens. But yeah, it was nice talking to the camera again and ranting again. I like doing these videos. I don't really have a structure. I don't have a script. Like, I'm not preparing anything before these videos. They're completely raw. They're just unfiltered thoughts. And I'm not the best speaker. I'm working on that, right? I'm fairly new to the game of content creation and all that. So I'm just winging it. I'm just speaking out of my heart and I'm not editing anything. This might change in the future, but this is how I prefer to do my videos. Just venting and being raw. So let me know if there's any improvements that can be made. If anyone's watching this and anyone wants to critique something, I'm happy to receive some because I can always improve. I'm not a professional. I'm a very newbie creator out there, so I could use any form of criticism. But yeah, I'm gonna stop ranting right now, guys. Thank you so much for listening to me rant, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Cheers.